she came over to our place up in Morganville, I think when they first moved back up here, and Sarah, I'm not sure if you were there, but Aunt Ann was there, and they stayed for the night, and the next day they came to church with us. My sister Ann and I were trying to have a conversation, and I cut up some cheese for us to have, and Gia kept swinging in and trying to see what we were up to, and she kept reaching for the provolone cheese. So after a few times of trying to tell her no, thinking it's something that a 2-year-old doesn't have a taste for yet, I figured, okay, I'll let her find out on her own that it's not such a good thing. Go ahead and take a piece, and when you spit it out on the floor, I'll just have a laugh.
Sitting in my kitchen, she was staying with me for a couple of days, and I put out some blueberries, and I don't think she had had blueberries before, but I put out a bowl of blueberries, and of course, me wanting to get on to the next thing ever so quickly was stuffing my mouth with like handfuls of blueberries. And there opposite me is little Gia, taking one blueberry at a time, putting it in her mouth, and you could actually see like when the juices exploded, because her eyes just got as big as, you know, we all know they did, and the little smile on her face, and then she would
She took one piece, took another piece, took a third piece, and for the rest of the night I couldn't keep her away from the cheese. So one of the harshest, stinkiest Italian cheeses you could think of, that I thought surely I'd get the better of her finally. She didn't bat an eye, and she matched me piece for piece, and I tell you, again, at that point she impressed me so much with just the spirit that she had, and just the love for life that she had, and that's what I love about her the most, and that's what I take in my heart every day, and that's what I miss the most.
I'm saying, okay, come on, Gia, come on, and I'm like, you know, another like 5 in my mouth, and she's picking one more, and I just, upon reflection, after she had left us, I just thought, look at this little 2-year-old is teaching me how to just stop and savor the simplest things in life. The basic eating of a blueberry. Like, hey Dune, stop shoveling them in without tasting them. Look at me. One at a time, I feel the juices, I taste it, I can smell it. And she loved that little experience, and she gave me that gift. And that's just something that I think I'll always keep with me in my heart about Gia.
My favorite memory with Gia was when I would sit in my dad's office with her every now and then.
So my favorite memory of little Gia was one day when we came to visit here. It was some occasion, and we were here at the Manahawk and Westby house. And that was a time when Frozen was very popular. And Lucy and Gia both had these, it was like a little kind of an outfit, a Frozen outfit. And they were dancing to Let It Go, and the video was on the TV. And Gia really didn't know the words or the movements by heart, and she just looked to her sister and followed anything that her sister was doing. She did too, and they were just having such a lovely time dancing and singing to Let It Go.
He had a deer that popped up on the computer. It would pop up and disappear every like 5 or 6 seconds, and every time it would pop back up again, we would both clap and cheer because the deer came back.
And I still have a very clear, like a little movie clip running in my head of the two of them doing that, and just seeing Gia looking at her sister and following everything she did. Very cute.
That was probably some of my best memories of that.
One of my favorite memories with Gia was when she was staying at our house. Just seeing her get bigger, but specifically I had this little white tutu. I had put it on Lucy when she was little, but something about Gia's hair reminded me of my very full head of hair as a kid, so I put her in it, and just watching her run around in this like flouncy little white polka dotted tutu, she was just so filled with joy.
Something I remember about Gia, she had there was this Robin Thicke song that she really liked, and she would do her little dance to that, which was cute.
I think that's what we all probably remember the most, is just how joyful and happy she always was.
Also just chasing Posey around. They were about the same size. They were good playmates. It was adorable. We miss her.
One of my favorite stories about Gia is the way she did not want to go to nap time. So it was always a fight to get her to go up and take her nap in the middle of the day. I think she felt like she was missing something.
I would say my favorite story about Gia is obviously just having her around, and she used to climb up on tables and everything. It was really funny. She was very adventurous.
It dawned on me after a little while that we would put her down to take a nap, close the door in the bedroom, and she would scream for a little while, but meantime she would get out of bed and start rummaging around the bedroom. I realized that I could shut the door, and if I backed away from the door a little bit and laid on my side, I could give the old one eye through the crack at the bottom of the door, between the door and the floor, and see her.
I remember in particular, when we had to put her to sleep, I would have to go up and make sure that she was asleep, and every time I would go up there, she would be standing up in her crib in my old room, and she had all these stuffed animals.
I would lay there quietly and just peek at her, and she would scream for a little while and cry, and then she would slowly put one foot down off the bed, then she would put the other foot down, and I would let her get a little bit off the bed, and I would say in a real deep, kind of a scary voice, "Get back in that bed," and she would just freeze. And then she would crawl back into the bed and lay down, and after about 10 minutes she would do it again. And this might go on for an hour and a half, but I thought it was fun.
I remember she would pick one up every night. She would pick one up and hand it to me, and then I would sit in there with her for probably longer than I should have. She was up probably at least an hour later than she should have been, but we would sit together and play with her stuffed animals. I think that's a great memory that I have with Gia.
So one day, we were going through that game, and then, she got to where she got a little bit better with laying down and going to sleep. And so I put her in the bed, and I shut the door, and I went downstairs. I hear in the ceiling, I could hear, because the bedroom is right above the room I was sitting in downstairs, I can hear her creeping around. I can hear the floor creaking. So I sneak up there and go up as quietly as a 300-pound guy can go up the stairs, and I sneak around the edge, and I do that thing where I look through the door, and I can see she's got one of the drawers pulled out on the dresser, and she's using that to step up to get at something that was on the top of the dresser that she couldn't reach. When I see what she's doing, I open the door real quick, and she just looked at me with that crazy curly hair she had. She just looked right at me. She didn't cry, she didn't do anything. She just put her head down and put her hands up like I was gonna handcuff her, like she'd been caught and she knew it.
She used to call me Reen. She was probably the first child to call me Reen. And I will forever be known as Reen. Even the kids at school call me Reen. So every time somebody calls me Miss Reen, I always think of her. But I mean,
I don't even know where to start. There's so many stories I could share about Gia. I guess one of my most memorable ones. So my parents, we all know my parents, love taking pictures of us. One night, my mom comes in with the camera, and all of us are, okay, let's go take a photo. As we were walking up to the couch in our TV room, Gia hit her head, just bonked her head against the table, the coffee table, I guess you'd call it, in the middle of the room. She started to cry, understandably. So my mom lines us all up for the picture, and we still have the picture. She's sitting on Jake's lap, next to me and Jake, and she's just bawling her eyes out, just because she bonked her head, or she didn't want to take a picture, either or. It's just hysterical because the picture captures so much in her personality.
I was trying to think of stories. There's so many, from watching Frozen or hearing Frozen. I've never watched Frozen, but I probably can sing every song just because it was playing in our house 24/7. She loved Let It Go. She loved dancing to it, singing to it, watching Lucy sing to it. She loved watching Lucy do anything. Anything Lucy did, she wanted to do.
When I think about my favorite memory of Gia, I don't really think of a specific memory. I think more about every single day when I used to come home from school. I was a sophomore at the time, basically the entire year that Gia was with us. And so she was staying in the room that Caleb sleeps in now. So it's like the first room in the hallway when you come up the stairs. And so usually Sarah would leave like a gate in front of the door, and Gia would kind of be in there with Sarah, or sometimes by herself. And so I would come in after school and I would go upstairs. I would go put my stuff down up in my room. And Gia would come running to the gate every single time I came up, and she would usually, you know, be singing a song or something like that, or just like trying to talk to me. And it was really cool because throughout the year, I feel like, you know, the longer she was here and the longer she was kind of coming to the gate every single day, she kind of started talking to me more and more, and we kind of started like interacting more and more. And I just like thought that was the coolest thing ever. I would always be like super excited to come home from school, and, you know, I'd be excited to like see what Gia was up to up at the gate. And it got to the point where we were pretty much having like a conversation by the end.
So that brings me to my first story. So the boys had their school pictures taken, and we got them back. Lucy also had gotten her kindergarten picture taken. So they all came home one day with their 8x10s for the wall, and I got the frames out and I hung my 4 boys and Lucy's picture up on the wall, and out comes Gia. I don't know where she was, in the office or something, and she looked up at the wall and she pointed to it, and I could see her face like she wanted to say something, and she's just like looking at the wall like, where the hell am I? Like, how come I'm not on there? So I took out my camera and told her to go into the office, and she did, and she sat on Uncle John's chair and posed. Like, I didn't even have to tell her. She just sat there and smiled, and this picture I took of her and blew it up and showed her after I did it and put it up on the wall, and she was so proud to be up on the wall with her sister and her siblings, because they really were all like siblings for a year here. And my boys always said that. They always considered Lucy and Gia part of the family, so it was like having 2 new sisters.
She was like a sister to me. I mean, I can imagine everyone else in my family. She was like just like a part of our family. It's just so funny. Whenever I look at that picture, I remember the story, and it just brings back a flood of memories. You know, from playing with her little xylophone piano, you know, trying to play a Beatles song on it, to her singing Let It Go from Frozen, you know, stomping her feet, you know, here I stand, stomping her feet. I'm not a good singer, I'm sorry.
It was cool just to be able to watch that kind of development when I had like kind of more of an awareness of it, because when Caleb was growing up, you know, I didn't really get to see that progression with him, because I wasn't really super aware of what was going on at the time. But you know, I always loved coming home from school and talking to Gia up at the gate. We would like sing together and dance together, and we would, you know, she would just try to talk to me, and every single time, you know, it got deeper and deeper. So I think that's something that definitely I'll remember forever, just, you know, watching that progression going upstairs every day after school. That's something I'll always remember.
The Petrasics came in to our lives when my dad was starting to like decline in health, and for I don't know, like for like maybe like 4 months, 5 months before he had passed away, like my dad would always love when like Gia and Lucy would come over to visit. Like if I would go over to bring something over or have to go sit with them, I would take the girls with me, and he loved it. He loved watching them play. He thought they were hysterical. Lucy was old enough that she could sit there. Sometimes she was in school, so she didn't come as much, but Gia was with me. And he loved it. He loved watching her. He thought it was funny. I mean, she was adorable. So I remember the day my dad passed away. It was like a sudden thing, and I had come back to the house, and Sarah was sitting at the table with the girls, and I had to run back to the hospital. And after I came home, they were here, and from that day on, like they all, it made easier for me to mourn my dad, because I would get up every morning and I would hang out with the girls, like Lucy would go to school, or I would hang with Gia. But just having Sarah and Lucy and Gia here through that time made it a lot easier for me to go through that, and I really, really appreciate them for that. I loved every second, even though it was crazy, I loved every second of them being in the house with us. And I'm really, really thankful, I'm really grateful that we were able to do that and have that bond that we do.
I'm so grateful to Sarah for bringing her here to us, and I really believe that it was God's will that they come here, and that her little job here in life would be completed. And I think she did what she was meant to do here.
This hangs in my room still, because to me this is Gia just sitting on the chair looking like she's ready to do something.
That was just her personality. It's what she brought to everything. Very adventurous, more than a little mischievous, but always really lovable.
I miss her. She was great. She's an angel, truly.
Even though she's not with us anymore, I feel like she's still such a bright light in all of our lives, and I'm just so happy I was blessed to actually meet her and build a relationship with her, and I'm never going to forget her.
One of the things that always attracted me to her was just her spirit. She was a fearless little girl, and she had the eyes that would let her get away with anything and a smile that helped.
That's my story.
And that's it.
That's my story.
God bless you, Gia. We'll see you soon.